Hello everyone, this is my post for Moral Compass Artifacts and Articulation by Mike Davis. The quote, "It has been, is and will be the differences, not our commonalities that present us with ethics, demands and challenges," from Arnett, Fritz and Bell. I think very relevant for my life, what I believe in, and also the couple of readings that I chose to talk about in this video post. The first one, from Diversity and Dialogue, Commodities and Differences Between Friends. I thought there were some interesting points that I wouldn't have thought of right away, but after reading and going through this, I thought that the interesting point about how men and women differ in relation to when they feel close to people and how they are with friends and how they build friendships through men doing activities and feeling close to women having close personal talks to feel close. On the face of it, I think it's I would say a stereotypical view. If that's the case. The point I would like to bring up about that is that personally I feel that when I've really had time alone with friends, whether it's friends from before I moved to America or when I go back home to England that I've known for years that are very, very good friends to me, or friends that I've had at college, or any other friends for that matter, that when I've been alone with them in an environment where that time is of a while, that that is something that I would go with saying that I would feel closer from having a deep personal talk about a subject that was necessary. I thought that the gendered standpoints that was brought up in regards to um, how men are developed from childhood of doing activities outside and how they need to communicate to achieve outcomes and assert themselves and struggle for individual status and power from being that person that's out and about and doing things like that, compared to women who are encouraged to stay inside while being caring and cooperative. Again, I think of stereotypes that I think in this day and age can vary and can go both ways. I wouldn't necessarily fully agree with how those are worked in. The second writing I would like to talk about is the white privilege, unpacking the invisible knapsack. And again, I think this was quite a deep and meaningful piece of writing. Um, I enjoyed how the author talked about how it was a case of how she looked at things, comparing initially women versus men, and how that was comparing very similar to non-white people versus white people, so any other ethnicities or religions, and how that was an oppressor versus being oppressed. And again, it's kind of a stereotypical point of view, and I think on the women versus men that has gradually evened out. I'm not saying that it's even completely even by any means, but I think over time that has evened out. And how the typical way a white person is brought up would be never to be taught to be seen anything more than being a neutral, normative, and average person, and that's through growing up and just through schooling. And I think that's true. I don't remember personally back in England, or I don't believe anyone else out here in America would have been brought up and really had it hammered home that being a white person is something that is a privilege to compared to being of a different race, with the stereotypes and how people are treated on a daily basis. So it's an interesting way of looking at it. I think the a couple of points that she brings up about what someone that is white doesn't need to worry about or takes for granted. The first one is that I can go shopping alone while pretty well assuming that I will not be followed or harassed. The second one, I can swear or dress in second-hand clothes or not answer letters without having people attribute these choices to bad morals, poverty, or the illiteracy of my race. And thirdly, if my day, work, or year is going badly, I need not ask of each negative episode or situation whether it is racial overtones. And I think these are just three that I picked out of the 20 plus that are on there, but I think they are very valuable, and I think we can all agree, if we come from a Caucasian background, that these are things we never think about. I would say that maybe some, depending on how people dress, they may be looked upon as being less trustworthy in shopping centres, etc., when there's security around, but as a day-to-day thing, I think it's something that I would never have thought about, and it brings up a very good point about why should other races have to think about and concern themselves that they may be thought of differently to white people in these situations. Finally, on that regard, I'd like to mention that how she talks about it's an unearned privilege, advantage, and conferred dominance for white people, because at the end of the day, we're all born and brought up in our own cultures, and why should one culture necessarily have that privilege when it's not been earned? I think that's a very valid point that she makes. I think the issues that she brings up can only be tackled once the taboo of the nature of it can only be tackled once the subject has been tackled. So bringing these issues up about why these stereotypes are in culture, and it's not going to be an easy thing to do, but once it's out there and in public viewing and for people to understand and fully talk about in open settings, and it's not going to be able to be sorted out through accepting systems of dominance, because white people still to this day will get certain privileges, and then having the world accept that white people again begin to advertise the dominance, and that will begin to break those barriers. And I think on the flip side, from my own standpoint, there gets that the reverse stereotyping, and again, I guess possibly the reverse prejudice, where some other races may be given positions or jobs to make a company or an organisation seem like they are doing their bit to go against the past prejudice of the last decade or decades before that, whereas they might not be doing it based on the quality of someone. For me, it's got to be 100% fit straight down the line. Whoever is the best person for that job, regardless of race, should get the job. And I think sometimes that gets overshadowed by prejudice and what it is in the social community. Finally, I know I've gotten a bit over here, but finally I'm going to post these, but the couple of quotes that I think are very relevant to my personal culture and how this relates to that is, the first one comes from Maya Angelou, and it says, "It is time for parents to teach young people early on that in diversity there is beauty and there is strength." And I think that is a wonderful quote based on the fact that it is very important that people are different. If everyone was the same, where is the ability for someone to learn more from different cultures? Where is the ability to grow as a person, to become a better person through that? I think that highlights that very well. The second one I have comes from Mao Zedong. "The differences between friends cannot but reinforce their friendship." And again, I have friends from different cultures, I have friends from similar backgrounds as well, but naturally there's going to be something that draws us towards each other when I first become friends with people that may well be a similarity, but then when you get to know someone and see differences, it definitely, I think, reinforces and strengthens a friendship. And finally, "It is not our differences that divide us, it is our inability to recognise, accept and celebrate those differences." And that comes from Audre Lorde. And again, it is not our differences that divide us, it is our inability to recognise, accept and celebrate those differences. And again, I think it's wonderful to be able to meet people and accept people for who they are, and to learn and to accept that people are going to be different to yourself and from your community. So I think it's wonderful to be able to get out into other cultures, get into other countries, and fully accept that people will be different, but there's so many great things you can take from other people that can build you as a person and to provide you with those that ability to build yourself and to become a better person overall and a more rounded person. Thank you.